Joseph and his coat of many colors. A journey from betrayal to blessing. Long ago in Canaan, there lived a man named Jacob who had 12 sons. Among all his children, he loved Joseph most dearly, for Joseph was born to him in his old age, the son of his beloved wife Rachel. To show his special affection, Jacob gave Joseph a magnificent coat, a beautiful garment of many colors that shimmered in the sunlight. This was no ordinary clothing, but an ornate robe worn by favored sons. When Joseph wore it, everyone could see he was treasured above his brothers. But this favoritism planted seeds of resentment. Joseph's brothers watched him wear that colorful coat, and bitterness grew within them until they could barely speak kindly to him. Joseph, young and unaware, had vivid dreams that he felt compelled to share. He dreamed that his brother's sheaves of grain bowed down to his sheaf. Then he dreamed the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed to him. When he shared these dreams, his brother's resentment turned to hatred. "Will you actually rule over us?" they asked with scorn. One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers tending flocks in distant fields. When they saw him approaching in his coat of many colors, they plotted against him. "Here comes that dreamer," they said. "Let's kill him and throw him into a cistern." But Reuben convinced them not to shed blood. When Joseph reached them, they seized him, stripped off his beautiful coat, and threw him into an empty pit. Then they sat down to eat while their brother cried from below. Soon, a caravan of traders passed by, heading to Egypt. Judah suggested, "Let's sell him instead of killing him. After all, he is our brother." For 20 shekels of silver, they sold Joseph into slavery. To cover their deed, the brothers dipped Joseph's coat in goat's blood and brought it to Jacob. "We found this," they said. "Is it your son's robe?" Jacob recognized it immediately. "Some ferocious animal has devoured him," he cried, tearing his clothes in anguish. "Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." He mourned inconsolably, refusing all comfort. But Joseph lived. In Egypt he was sold to Potiphar, captain of Pharaoh's guard. Though now a slave in a foreign land, Joseph was not alone. The Lord was with him and gave him success in everything. Potiphar noticed God's favor and put Joseph in charge of his entire household. Yet trials continued. Potiphar's wife tried to seduce Joseph, but he refused, saying, "How could I sin against God?" When he fled her advances, she falsely accused him, and Joseph was thrown into prison though innocent. Even in prison's darkness, the Lord remained with Joseph. The warden put him in charge of all prisoners. There, Joseph interpreted dreams for Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker. Everything happened as Joseph predicted, though the freed cupbearer forgot him for 2 years. Then Pharaoh had troubling dreams none could interpret. The cupbearer finally remembered Joseph. Summoned from prison, Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dreams through God's wisdom. 7 years of abundance would be followed by 7 years of famine. Pharaoh immediately made Joseph second in command of all Egypt. Joseph stored grain during the abundant years. When famine came, people from every nation traveled to Egypt for food. Among them were Joseph's brothers, who bowed before this powerful Egyptian official, not recognizing him. But Joseph recognized them. His childhood dreams were fulfilled, his brothers bowing before him. He tested them, speaking harshly, keeping Simeon hostage until they brought their youngest brother, Benjamin. When they returned with Benjamin, Joseph could barely contain his emotions. He wept privately, struggling between his pain and his love. Finally, he could bear it no longer. Sending his attendants away, he revealed himself. "I am Joseph. Is my father still living?" His brothers stood terrified and speechless. But Joseph said tenderly, "Do not be distressed or angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you." With wisdom born of faith, Joseph saw God's hand in everything. "You intended to harm me," he told them, "but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Joseph sent for his father, and the whole family came to Egypt. When Jacob saw Joseph alive, he wept, saying, "Now I am ready to die, since I have seen you are still alive." The coat of many colors was long gone, but Joseph now wore robes of royalty. The brother thrown into a pit sat on a throne. The slave had become a ruler. The prisoner had become a savior. Through it all, through favoritism and dreams, betrayal and slavery, false accusations and imprisonment, God had been weaving a perfect plan. What the brothers meant for evil, God transformed into blessing. The family was restored. God's people were preserved. And Joseph became the instrument of God's purposes. As Joseph grew old, he never forgot his journey's lessons. God's plans are higher than human understanding. Patience and faithfulness are rewarded. Even the deepest betrayals can become pathways to the greatest blessings when surrendered to God's hands. Joseph's story reminds us that no matter how dark circumstances seem, God is always at work, turning trials into triumphs, pain into purpose, and betrayals into blessings beyond imagination. Rest now in peace, knowing your story, like Joseph's, is held safely in the hands of a loving God who works all things together for good.